This right here was the scene during the post-game handshake line in Madison, Wisconsin this afternoon. Juwan Howard fired up enough to strike a member of the opposing staff. He says it all started with how Wisconsin handled the final minute of the game. Let's see, we can take a look in Howard's eyes where it all began. Wisconsin right here called 2 timeouts in the final minute, including one with just 15 seconds left. Badgers up 15, so the game is clearly out of reach. Juwan Howard said he didn't like the timeout being called, saying it was unnecessary with that large of a lead. So here's where it starts. The game ends, the teams shake hands. This part, important to notice that it appears Greg Gard stopped Howard, touched him, while maybe Howard looked to avoid him initially. Gard and Howard began to argue. Staff and players try to intervene. Through the crowd, Howard reached over and struck Wisconsin assistant John Krabenhoft. That is when, obviously, as you can see, more people are getting involved. You can see Howard pulled off away from the crowd, but several players involved making physical contact with opposing players. Chaos ensues. Here's Juwan Howard after the game.
I addressed with the head coach that I will remember that because of that timeout, and for someone to touch me, and I think that was very uncalled for him to touch me as we were verbalizing and communicating with one another. So that's what ended up happening, and that's what escalated it.
After the game, Greg Gard, without hesitation, defended himself and his coaching. He explained his usage of the final timeouts and why he used them. Here's Gard with his take of the exchange with Juwan Howard before the altercation.
And he came up to me and pulled his max down and said, "I'll remember that." And he started pointing at me and tapped me in the chest. And I said, "Hold on. Let me explain to you why I took the timeout." Maybe he doesn't know the rule, and he didn't want any part of it, and kept moving on. So that's unfortunately, like I said, it overshadowed momentarily. I'm not going to let it overshadow it.
Here's the statement that the Big Ten released directly after the incident in Madison. They said they're in contact with both institutions, adding they'll provide more information and will take swift and appropriate disciplinary action when a review is completed. Michigan AD Warren Manuel chiming in as well, saying there's no excuse for any of our staff or student athletes to get into a physical altercation with others, regardless of instigating factors. Manuel says he apologized to Wisconsin's AD and that the 2 university presidents have been in contact. Manuel went on to say they'll work with the Big Ten on the review and determine if any additional discipline is necessary beyond what the conference decides. Now, this action could be absolutely detrimental for Michigan basketball and the rest of their season. As of now, they're a bubble team for the tournament. They're in 7th in the Big Ten standings. They have 5 games left, including 3 against top 25 teams, as you see right here, one of which a rematch against rival Michigan State. And depending what the Big Ten Conference decides to do as far as disciplinary action goes, Michigan could be without their head coach, maybe their players, possibly other members of their staff. Again, this all decides what the Big Ten decides to do, as well as Michigan, as they said they could do additional discipline too.
Wow, Gina, a whole lot more on that to come.
Yeah, we'll be diving into the details. Juwan Howard, after the game, did say that he will accept what the Big Ten decides to do. So now is the waiting game to see what the conference will take on Michigan basketball.